Hey y'all, this is Mike Rooney. We're back to do some free art lessons today. We've just come back to the Art of the Carolinas 2010, and it's here in North Raleigh, and it's a fantastic thing. I love coming every year. It's the biggest, I think it's the biggest free like art convention for the public that there is. All the manufacturers come, all the paint companies, the canvas companies, the brush companies, and they're all trying to give you stuff and trying to get you to buy their products. So it's like a great time to try out new products, to talk about your favorite brushes, to get some new stuff, try out some free things. There's lots of demos. All the companies just pull out all the stops because they know that this is a huge crowd that comes, that buys their products. So you know, come to the Art of the Carolinas. This was the 10th year. It's getting bigger and bigger every year. I love coming over here and teaching. That people come from all over the country to teach and also to take the lessons. So you ought to come. It's absolutely awesome. Now what I'm going to do today is a free art lesson. And I'm going to do a little different concept than I did in my previous free art lessons, where I took a little thought and I talked about it for about 6 or 7 minutes, and then that was the end of it. What I want to do this time is I want to take a concept that'll take more than 8 minutes, and I want to explain it. So it's going to have part 1, part 2, part 3, who knows how many parts. So what I'll call this first one is how to create form, how to think of form, how to paint form. And I really don't know, you know, I'm just going to describe it using some instructional aids. I went and got some clay. That'll help me to show you what form is and how you need to think of it as a painter. Because when you're painting, you know, you got a two-dimensional surface, and you've got to make something that looks three-dimensional if you're going to work in, you know, representationally. Now if you're doing an abstract, of course, you know, that's pretty well 2D, but if I'm painting something like this girl, I want to make her look like she has form. So I've got to make her look round. I've got to make trees look like trees. I've got to make grass look like grass to be believable on a two-dimensional surface. So we'll start off by saying that the only reason there is such a thing called form is because light, the lights in the studio are going to be my light now, but it could be sun, it could be the light from your photo lamp in your studio when you have a still life set up. There's got to be light to have form, and the reason is because light hits the thing and it makes it look round on the underside or the left side. Now I've got studio lights all the way around in here, so it's probably not going to show up like I wish it would, but I can kind of explain to you. Imagine if I had, you know, a spotlight right here, and I was shining down on this ball of clay, this round ball, okay? The light would hit the top of it, and then the underside would be in shadow, okay? You don't see that now because it's lit all the way around, but that's okay. Form is when light hits something. Now if I roll it out like this and I make a cylinder out of it, it looks like a cylinder still. It doesn't look round, but by the form on the cylinder, it looks like a cylinder. Okay, let's make a soup can out of it. Okay, so we take the top off. By having that shape and the light hitting this top and going around the sides, you can tell the form of this clay. You can tell it's a cylinder with a flat top. Now what happens if let's say I take that flat top and I make a cone. Let's say I make a cone on top of it, like so, all right, and make it like a triangle of some sort, okay? You can tell that I've got a shape on top. Like let's say that was a little lid, like this is some kind of pot or something, and it had a little lid on it, okay? The form hitting this triangle shape tells you that there's a lid there, okay? So when we're painting on here, we have to do the same thing. We have to describe the light the way it hits this thing on here. So the best way to do that is to think of it like this. If I took this block of clay, all right, and I wanted it to be round, okay, I would first start off by thinking of it as square, all right? So bear with me and watch how I do this. I'm going to take the side and I'm going to cut right through it, and I'm going to make it a square. Okay, so there's one gone. Let's get this thing to stay. Okay, and then this one, and then the third side, and then the fourth side. Now, everybody can look at that and tell by the way the light's hitting it that it's a square. Okay? Now, it's very simplified. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides, and there'd be the underside too. Now, when you're painting, that's what you want to do, is you want to simplify things at first. The whole thing about painting is you want to simplify and get the shapes down really, really simply. You want to think of them very simply at first, and then break them down into more and more shapes. Now watch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make up 3 values of paint here. I'm going to have a dark, which I'm just taking ultramarine blue and adding orange to it. Then I've got one that's a little bit darker, that's the medium gray, and then I'm going to have white with just a tad of gray in it to be my other side, okay? And we'll stick with that for right now. Now, if I want to describe this shape on this piece of paper or this canvas, what I would do is I would draw it out, and I've done it enough I really don't even need to look at it. I'm just going to describe the shapes that I see. Okay, so if I were to look down at this and I was trying to describe it, I would do it like that, because that's what I see. Now I'll take the other. Let's actually give it a shadow too. Let's make a shadow like so. Let's see, would it go like that? It would probably go straight across. A little bit more. Okay. So this side here, we're going to make the dark. I'm trying to make this. I'm trying to describe form on here. So I would paint this dark, like so. Now probably what would happen is that shadow would probably be the same value as the side of the block. Okay, so there's one side of the block. Now, the second side of the block, let me show you where the light's coming from first. The light is originating up here. So we'll make a little preschool sun like they do in 3rd grade, and we know that the light is coming from the top left, okay? So let's imagine that this was a shower head, okay? Imagine that the sun was actually a shower head, and it was shining light down on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put which would get the most light. If the sun was up here, this surface would get the most light. I'm going to go ahead and make that the lightest one, and this one would be the second lightest one. Okay, now I'm going to wrap this up. This is number 1. Come back for part 2, okay? This is number 1. But do you see that how I made a 2-dimensional surface look 3-dimensional by describing 3 different light planes? Come back for number 2, and also like to remind you if you'd like to see more of my work or see my workshop scheduled, to go to MikeRooneyStudios.blogspot.com.